right? My guess is that most people want, on the one hand, for dying to not be entirely discontinuous with the life that came before.
Mm.
Right? So you think about a person who, is very suddenly diagnosed with an extremely aggressive disease, and within a matter of days, after that diagnosis, they go into a hospital. They're there for the rest of their lives. They're hooked up to a lot of technology. They're receiving a lot of drugs, etc. Okay? That's a very abrupt, right, transformation in their lives. Right? It makes dying out to be completely discontinuous with what came before.
Right.
All of a sudden, life as you know it comes to a stop, and now you're dying, right? And you're dying in this special place that we put dying people and other things like that. So I think people don't want that, right? They want, to the degree it's possible for dying to be continuous with the life that came before. Right? Consider, right? Lots of people want to die at home. Why do they want to die at home? Because I think they want their dying to be part of their lives, if that makes sense.
Right.
Right? At the same time, I think they also want them to be acknowledged as dying, right? And to give themselves a chance to be a dying person, right? To acknowledge the fact that their lives are coming to an end, to acknowledge this to others, to do the things that bring, though I hate this term, closure, right? To their lives, right? Sociologists and so forth, talk about the importance of people near the end of their lives occupying the dying role, right? Of their saying and other people saying and acknowledging, yes, you are dying, and this is a special sort of place, right, in your life where you're treated differently and maybe are given, a certain kind of attention that you might otherwise have received.
Privileges.
So,
can I ask very briefly why do you consider the term closure to be? Do you dislike the term closure?
It's so hopelessly vague. I mean, it's what everybody wants, but nobody can tell me what it is. So, it's not just the ending of something. It's not just that one's life ends, of course, but I guess it sort of ends in a way that's, I don't know. It doesn't have any loose ends or something like that. I don't know. Sort of long-standing problems have been resolved or addressed or something like that. Though in that case, I'm not sure. I think closure really captures it. I think what people kind of want is to not feel that the end of life had a bunch of missed opportunities in it. Maybe that closure is. I don't know.
I guess, we've always used the term, but it seems to have some kind of intuitive appeal to it, but I guess I've never really thought about
but it's all hard
the consequences.
It's not just things ending; it's something more than that.
But. When you were describing like the characteristics of a better death, it seemed to me that from the standpoint of the individual well-being, the argument for an individual wanting to be euthanized, it seems like there's two separate points. One is that you're euthanizing yourself to avoid the immense amount of potential suffering that you are judging to be in the future, and the second one is that by dying before you reach the undesirable state, you are in some sense preserving the dignity of your life. So I guess, for example, my grandfather was like supposedly this very energetic, talkative, in the room guy, and then he had 2 strokes and had an operation and was paralyzed in a wheelchair, and they said was a completely different person, and wasn't. My dad always talks about how he was sad because he wasn't able to live that last 10 years of his life the way he wanted to be and the kind of person he wanted to be. So it's like that kind of argument is avoiding those 10 years, let's say, or that proportion of your life where you're not in tune with the kind of life that you would want to live as a whole, and by euthanizing yourself, or not euthanizing yourself, but choosing to get euthanized, you are preserving the dignity of your life as a whole.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that that word dignity has very powerful resonances. When we look at sociological work on assisted dying and euthanasia in different parts of the world, many of those who opt for it do invoke exactly that term, right? That they sort of think that their lives are or are becoming undignified. It's a little hard to know what people have in mind when they say that, right? But I think you're right to say that maybe one thing they have in mind is that they want to have their lives be such, and this goes back to something I was saying a moment ago, that they are lived in accordance with how they want to present themselves to the world, or sort of what they want their story of their life to be, right? So, I think a lot of people have strong attachments to certain narratives about their lives, right? Certain sort of story that they want to be able to tell, and they want their experience to vindicate. And for some people, right, perhaps this, is similar to your grandfather's situation, they want the story of their life to be one where it doesn't conclude with a period where what they are and what they think of as the best version of themselves, right, are at odds, right? Mm-hmm. So the end of life can be a period of very heavy dependency on others, very heavy vulnerability, frailty, a sense of being sort of excluded from the world, right, rather than being actively engaged in it, and so on. And so I think for a lot of people, when they worry about dignity, they're sort of worried about ending up in a position that is antithetical, right, to that self-conception or self-narrative that they want their lives to have. In some ways, I wish, though I understand that dignity has very powerful emotional resonances for a lot of people, I sometimes think that maybe a better word here is something like integrity, right? That I think people want their lives to have a kind of integrity to them. But nevertheless, I think the flip side of that, of course, is that we should be mindful that, sometimes perhaps what people would view as an undignified existence reflects maybe an unreasonable prejudice, right, about their own lives, and a kind of disdain for being cared for and being, attended to by others. A lot of people, for example, have a lot of hesitation about, end of life involving, other people being responsible for, cleaning you and hygiene and feeding you and things like this, right? And part of me wants to say, well, I respect the person who doesn't want that, right? On the other hand, I think we should, really kind of ask that person, well, is it really so shameful to be fed or to be cleaned by others? Is it really sort of, worth it, right. To avoid that you want to end your life, right? Is that important enough to you? I mean, if you could have more time with your loved ones, but, somebody would have to feed you, would you really, say no to more time with them? So, I think it's important to respect people's, judgment, respect their autonomy about those kinds of questions, but also to, when we can, sort of really kind of interrogate them about, whether it's the things that they say are so important to their dignity really are at the end of the day that important to them.
Hey there, if you like this video, please remember to hit the subscribe and like button if you want to support us and to stay up to date on all our latest videos, which we release daily. And if you want to be a guest on this show, you can find our contact page in the description. Thank you.